Good morning, everybody. This is Soul School Network for Sunday, July the 20th. My name is Susan, and I will be your host today for Soul School Network. And we are very excited that our guest speaker today is James Bonner, who is going to speak to us about lucid dreaming. So, welcome, James. Thank you for being here. We're very interested in this topic. And admittedly, anyone who knows me knows that I am not a lucid dreamer. I'm dreamy, but I'm not a dreamer. So I'm interested to know about the topic. And we do like to get started with a little brief meditation just to ground us and quiet our minds from our busy mornings or evenings, depending where we are on the planet. So I'm going to turn that over to James to lead us. And I will just tell you a little bit about James. I don't know if you read the email that went out. So let me just tell you that James has enjoyed a devoted spiritual practice for over 19 years with a background in Tibetan Buddhism, Hermetic Wisdom, Shamanism, and Earth Wizardry. Ooh, haven't heard that before. He teaches lucid dreaming and offers deeply transformational energy healing sessions for groups and individuals online and in person. So James is in Peru, I believe, but means that you can still work with him if you are like I am right at the moment in Canada or wherever you are on the planet. The dream world has shaped the course of his life in profound ways, from connecting with his beloved wife to guiding his major life projects and decisions. His dreams have deepened his connection with plants, allowed him to integrate lost parts of his soul, as well as enhance the healing therapy he shares with others. He continues to learn, grow, and evolve through integrating experience from the astral realms. James trained in the Tibetan Buddhist tradition of dream yoga with HH Gangri Karma Rinpoche in 2009. He was initiated into the Hermetic teachings at Las Piramides Del Ka in 2016, including 40 days of silence to navigate the astral realms. Wow. For the last 7 years, he has been deepening these practices through the Merlin lineage of healing and awakening. James weaves his experience with multiple wisdom traditions in an accessible and heartfelt way. Passionate about guiding others to ignite the full potential of their dreams and awaken their own inner wisdom. Isn't that incredible? James, thank you. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's such a joy to be here with you all and to inspire everybody to care more about their dreams. So thank you for having me. So I guess we'll just start by dropping in. If you just want to relax into your chair, maybe move your body a little bit, a little stretch like a cat. However your body wants to move, and start taking some deeper breaths. Maybe take a deep breath through the nose and just sighing out the mouth, a nice long exhale. And just taking a couple more of these with every breath, dropping into presence. And then perhaps place a hand around your heart, give your heart a little rub. And your belly, the other hand on your belly. Coming into your body, coming into presence, whatever time it might be as you join us here today. And just continuing to breathe into your belly, letting the belly expand. Long, slow, gentle, soft, healing breaths. As you inhale, expanding the belly, allow the lower diaphragm to expand and to open towards the pelvis as well. Relaxing the root. And as you exhale, just feel the energy gently moving up and through your energetic spine. Inhaling and dropping your awareness into the earth through your feet. Exhaling, allowing that energy to just naturally flow up and through your system, through your spine, through the crown of your head. Inhaling, softening even more into the earth. Exhaling, allowing this energy to move up and through you like a fountain. And with each inhale, drop a little deeper into the earth. With your imagination, with your awareness. And then just allowing the energy of the earth to flow up and through you like you're a tree. As if you are nature. As you inhale, really relax the pelvis and the bum cheeks, the bottom of the feet. And as the energy moves up and through, bring awareness to your heart, the essence of your heart. Now dropping even deeper, see if you can imagine reaching the very heart, the very core of planet Earth. And then just allowing that energy to flow up and through with a sense of peace and a sense of belonging here. And just for a moment, drop even deeper. Imagine that you're sinking deep into the earth. And you're just meditating at the very heart of Mother Earth, resting at the core of the planet. And as you're meditating and breathing at the very heart of the earth, imagine the whole earth and all the beings that live there are within your own heart. You are within the heart of the earth, and the earth is within your heart. And then gently rising up, 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 coming back to your breath, becoming aware of your environment, with an awareness of the beauty of your own heart. And you can take a big stretch, reaching the arms up and around, breathing nice and deep, bringing your hands together at your heart. It's so precious that we get to do this together. We get to come together and explore our own hearts, our own souls, and what unites us, what truly unites us at the very depth of our being. And so, thank you so much for joining us all here today. And yeah, I really wholeheartedly welcome your presence and your curiosity here today. If any questions arise throughout, feel free to write them. I might not catch them if you write them, but I'll stop every now and then to address any questions or curiosity you might have. With dreaming, with lucid dreaming, curiosity is actually a bit of a master key in this process. There are many renowned lucid dreamers in the world, from Tibetan Buddhism to the adepts of the mystery schools to indigenous cultures from around the world. But dreaming really is for all of us. We all go to sleep and we all dream. Some of the greatest dreamers on the planet are children. And so one of the most beautiful parts of rekindling this within our own lives is we get to rekindle the magic of being a child, that curiosity, that wonder, the awe. And yeah, so yeah, I encourage this level of curiosity. And whenever I have guided people over the years, it's wonderful to see what happens to people in their waking life as well. This practice isn't one that's just that we do when we go to bed. In the mystery schools, what they would say is as above, so below, and as below, so above. And so as we cultivate lucidity in our dreams, we naturally cultivate that lucidity in our waking life. And so I guess I think it's a good point. Forget lucid dreaming for a moment and just think of the word lucidity, of lucid. And I'm curious to hear what that word means to each of you. So perhaps maybe you can share, you can speak if you like, or maybe write in the chat box. What does the word lucid mean to you? There's no right or wrong answers here. It's just like, what sort of feeling, what other word does that bring to your heart and mind?
Well, I'll jump in, James, and say the word aware is what jumps in immediately. I'm sure there's others. You have a thought? Jer put aware also. Okay, great.
I'd say clear and concise.
I love that. Any other feelings around the word? Susan, I wonder if you could
Yeah,
read
I
the
will.
note.
Thank you,
Thanks.
James. Yes, Celicia says staying aware when you are sleeping instead of letting the dream happen to you. Michelle says that word was my first thought too, I guess aware. And Jer also adds also a bit of control, he puts in quotes, or ability to direct the dreaming.
Very interesting. I'm glad that was brought up actually, because I'd love to speak to that a little bit as well. Does anybody know the root of the word loose? Anybody?
Light?
Light.
Yes.
Mhm.
So for me, it brings that like to illuminate, light. So many other people say that it makes them think of like fluid, this lucid where it's more fluid as well. I like to ask a question because I really like to learn whenever we gather like this and hear other people's perspectives. The reason I ask is because, oh, sorry, did I miss?
Delicia just wrote light with a question mark. So she was sharing what you were talking about.
Beautiful. I feel like also, so we have this light, we have this fluid. For me, it speaks to being alive, being fully alive, and a level of engagement. Like, to what level are we engaged with what is unfolding in front of us or within us? And I have a friend also that she takes it another stage further. She said, I feel like it's a mystical engagement with life. And so the reason I ask that is because what I shared earlier, that whenever we are cultivating lucid dreaming in our life, we're cultivating these qualities within our daily life as well. We can't do one without the other. And so, yeah, thank you for sharing your perspectives on this. Yeah, there are multiple qualities in which we are cultivating whenever we begin this journey. So somebody mentioned having a level of control within a dream. So if we get specific to what lucid dreaming is, we can have a dream where the dream is unfolding and we're more like a passenger within that dream. We're not aware that we're dreaming. As we become lucid, you deepen that awareness, like, oh, this is actually a dream. I'm dreaming. And for a lot of people, particularly in the beginning when practicing or when it happens spontaneously, this can be very exciting. And so what can happen is it's so exciting that it's like, I compare it to surfing because I'm terrible at most cool sports, especially surfing. I've tried that, and when I've managed to get on and stand on the surfboard, I've got so excited that I instantly fall back into the sea. And I think that's a lot of people's experience. So in the beginning, you develop like a conviction and a desire, like an exclamation mark, like, I care about my dreams. I'm ready to be lucid. And this can create that I stand on the surfboard. Now, what allows us to remain lucid is developing a measure of composure. And so if you have a practice like meditation, if you practice regulating your nervous system, these are all incredible qualities that can help you to stay aware within the dream long enough to then ask deeper questions, to do incredible amount of healing, to explore the unconscious, and way, way beyond. And so I'd like to speak with you all about, what is possible when we become lucid today. Somebody did mention control, and I actually hear that quite a lot from, people teaching lucid dreaming, even, that learn to control your dreams and you can fulfill your deepest fantasies and things like this. And yeah, there's no doubt about it. Like, when you become lucid in a dream, it's a million times better than Netflix or any kind of show, because you really are the main character and you can have an incredible exploration. But if that's where it stops, we're really missing the depth and the full potential of what's possible within our dreams. The possibility for our own evolution, our own healing, to really know thyself. And so when I hear people talking about control, I actually don't think it's quite like that. I mean, you can do miraculous things in dreams that are just not possible in the waking life. But for me, it's more like a co-creation. So you're within the dream, you recognize you're dreaming, rather than like, okay, shift the scene, go fly somewhere else immediately. It's much more juicy to be curious about what's revealing itself already within your consciousness. And so, but you have the capacity and you have the awareness to ask those deeper questions. What's really interesting, is you get this instantaneous sort of feedback to your own consciousness. And so one of the things that you can learn is how in which does reality work in my waking life as well as my dream life. So if I'm in a dream and something is arising, it might seem like an awkward, challenging situation. And then if I'm in a dream and then I go to be aggressive or have the confrontation that seems confrontational, it's going to spiral in that way. Whereas if I can relax into my heart within the dream, come from that place, it's amazing how the dream completely shifts in that direction. Now, this happens very quickly and obviously in dreams, but what it's seeding within us is the awareness that that's also true in our waking life. How we respond to life really has an influence over what happens next. You know, in terms of the cause and effect of reality unfolding, we learn where we have some responsibility in that. And, you know, if we want to live a more peaceful, more loving life, and we continue to respond to life in that way the best we can, I know it's not always easy, then our life is going to move more in that direction. And so, yeah, I'm curious if anyone has any questions at this point, just to talk about the very basics of what lucid dreaming really is.
James, I will read what Celicia wrote in the chat. She said, in many of my dreams, I am being attacked by various beings and I always run away. But as you said, I have made it a point to stop and say, this is my dream, and quotes, do not run away. So once again, I gain my composure, I start to fight back and direct the dream how I want it to go.
Beautiful. That's incredible, Celicia. Thank you for sharing. That shows incredible capacity to become lucid in a dream and incredible courage, you know, to turn around. You know, when I teach people in more advanced, when I teach over 3 months, we explore how to navigate within the astral, you know, and it's possible to change scenes, to shift things in various ways. But when it comes to something scary, or particularly if it's reoccurring, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to turn around. And often, actually, this is what begins to dissipate that as a reoccurring dream. So, one of the first things that when people begin this practice is if they struggle to sleep or if they have reoccurring nightmares, these are one of the first things that begin to dissipate just by bringing your loving awareness and your composure to that. Again, there are many lucid dreaming schools or teachers that practice like wake up and get out of bed technique. And for me, sleep is sacred. And so the first port of call is to tend to a really good night's sleep. So sleep becomes really, really nourishing. There's a lot more research when it comes to dreaming now. It used to be like a scary topic, I feel like, for science. It was hard to understand, but with developments in neuroscience, people are really beginning to open the door to dreaming and just how healing it is. And so I can relate to what you shared, Celicia. When I first lived in this mystery school in Guatemala, we lived in a pyramid. It was very, very conducive to dreaming and incredible experience. At the beginning of this, I kept having like, it felt like beings attacking or trying to attack my family, or, you know, in these dreams reoccurring. In these dreams at the beginning, I was like a ninja and I saved the day. You know, I was such an incredible ninja warrior. And I was just like, I am really like A+ for mystery school, dream school. I'm doing so good. And the reality was that it was like, particularly with the mystery school, it's an initiatory process. The dreaming is initiations. You become an initiate on the path. And so it took me a while because I can be quite slow to realize things. But my journey with that was to stop fighting. Like, and so real apocalyptic situations. And then one time I turned around and I just sat and I meditated. It was like this like robotic being ending the world. And it was like, save your family, James. And then I just dropped into meditation and it dissipated. Flowers began to grow and it became a very peaceful landscape. And then I was like, oh, like, wow. And so a lot of, for me, the initiations, very humbling initiations, have been one of coming into a place of loving awareness, of peace, also recognizing where my ego is at play. And so it's beautiful. We all get our own bespoke, incredible journeys each night that are just like reminding us of who we are and gently sometimes tickling our ego to say, really, James? And so, yeah, one invitation is to explore that, Celicia. You raised your hand, Susan.
Thank you, James. Yes, I wanted to read to you a couple of questions in the chat. Celicia says, do you have anything to comment on people who claim that they have dreams that they later experience in real life? Some of them get upset that they don't make a certain decision in life because they already knew what was going to happen from the dream. So that's Celicia's question. And also Corey asks the question, what are your thoughts on astral projection during dreams? And also Celicia thanks you. She's for you what you just said. I'm going to try that next. That seems like the next level. Don't run, don't fight, just seek peace. Everything's okay. So those are the questions so far.
Wow. Well, it's what a wonderful group we have, and we're like, let's go deep straight away. Dreams are incredible. It's amazing what we can explore. And so a lot of research, what is understood is we get to explore our unconscious mind. So this is and when I said about dissipating nightmares, beginning to sleep better, there is like a profound healing process that begins very early in this journey. And you do not need to lucid dream for this to happen. Just by bringing your awareness and your care to your dreams, healing happens. And so one of the dynamics behind this is we all have this inner masculine, our conscious mind, often symbolized by the sunshine. Logic, making decisions, and we have this feminine, unconscious part of our consciousness, often symbolized by the moon. One of the greatest unions we can cultivate within ourselves is this inner marriage. And so where the conscious mind says, hey, like, I really care about you and I'm listening, I'm here for you. Whatever it is that you want to share with me, I'm here, I'm not going anywhere. And I've studied various healing modalities over 20 years. And one of the most healing things any of us can experience is to be seen and to be heard and to be understood. And so this is what we offer ourselves. The moment we say, okay, I care about your dream, I'm gonna write you down in my dream diary. And one of the keys to that is you don't just write the really cool dreams. You write the awkward ones, the sexy ones, the scary ones. And so then that feminine part of our consciousness, that unconscious, is saying, wow, the masculine is actually listening to me. And then instead of dreams becoming just random or just piecing together what happened in that day, a lot of dreams help us make sense of the world. When we begin to really care, it's like the feminine part within us really reveals the deeper. And sometimes that's the shadow aspect, sometimes it's the parts that we felt ashamed of, and sometimes it's the most profound inspiration. It's the incredible insights. But I feel like the doorway to the Philosopher's Stone, to connecting with master teachers, to astral travel, the doorway really is the moment we begin to care and we listen to those parts that have been hidden, those blind spots often referred to as the shadow. So as we begin to really listen, and those parts in our emotional body where there's been suppression, it's like, I'm here for you. We begin to give them a place to begin to unwind and to be felt, to be understood, to heal. We begin to open the door to some of these, more prophetic dreams. And of course, this isn't linear. So it's not like, oh, I've done the work. Now it's all master teachers and astral universities. It's a cycle. I like very recently I've been deep in a cycle of healing, and really seeing areas that need some tender love and attention and care. And so, I guess I'll speak to your questions, but I feel like I'll get there. But first, I want to speak to what's understood through science and what's, and then we'll get to the astral travel and the prophetic dreams. Prophetic dreams are not rare. I'll say that at this point. We're all having them. And so one of the reasons I'm really passionate about sharing this is because, I grew up in a really rough town in England, where no one spoke about spirituality. My dad, he's an engineer. And so my approach to spirituality has been very much like, does it work? And so I really am devoted to my path and the practices, but I'm also very like, does it work? I'm not interested in just words. I'm interested in the practical unfolding and evolution, and healing. And so I studied Tibetan Buddhism. I started with the Hermetic Mystery School. I now share this vortex healing from the Merlin lineage. And I'm very, very blessed to be here in the Sacred Valley of Peru, where, a lot of actually those early spiritual practices of mine, which are still dear to my heart and I practice, but they were very masculine and transcendent, and now it feels beautiful to be in Peru, where there's a very feminine spirituality, back to the earth. And it's really doing wonders for me to find balance in this way, giving offerings to the earth. And I'm studying with a teacher, Don Fermin Kespe, and he's guiding us along these carpe initiations. And again, in this tradition, dreams are like what it has invited my wife and I up to the sacred mountains here in Peru to say, okay, it's time. And our teacher is saying, yeah, a lot of this process is about the dreams. So follow your dreams before and afterwards. And it's beautiful for me to understand the whole other path and way of relating with my dreams and connecting with the earth. What's understood in science is that we get to explore our unconscious mind. And this is because in your brain, the prefrontal cortex reduces its activity during REM sleep, rapid eye movement, which is when you dream. Other areas of the brain, often their activity increases by 30% than when you're awake. So you can see just by that the incredible opportunity we have. One way of explaining this is the prefrontal cortex is organization, structure. Also, this is who I am. This sense of self is often here. And so if this reduces, like this is just the way the world is. If that could just relax a little bit and other areas of the brain light up, areas of creativity, problem solving, then it's kind of like the CEO has just said, guys, I'm going on holiday for 3 months and here's an infinite budget. Like what could happen in like a creative startup company? Well, it's huge. It's the same for dreams. So that means we get to access the parts that the prefrontal cortex says don't go there. It's like threatens your sense of self and your ego, or that was really shameful, so we pushed that down. And or that was really scary, you know. One of the studies, I think it was 2 years ago, recently, fairly recently, is they invited people that were experienced PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder, to learn lucid dreaming. And so this was veterans, people with really traumatic events through childhood to learn this practice. What was incredible was I think it's 84% of the participants stopped showing symptoms of PTSD. Now, I've been around healing for a very long time, and that's a huge percentage of people, particularly with PTSD. And so this is because they were able to revisit some of those traumatic events or where they were holding that, and you revisit it from a safe place. And this is biochemically a safe place. There's no production of noradrenaline in your brain when you dream, which is like this stress experience. And so, like a simulation, you can revisit, and it's not like the event goes away, the memory remains, but the way in which we identify and the way it impacts us in our life or pulls us in one way or the other begins to shift. And so, yeah, I can speak for myself. Like I once, there was a neighbor, their mail came to our house and I was just a boy, and my mum said, take it round to your neighbors. And so I went around and then I give it, I opened the door and they had like I forget what they, beautiful dogs, often police dogs. I forget their name. Really beautiful, but it just like jumped out and then scratched all the way along my chest, like, so it bled and barked really aggressive. And like I always loved dogs, and but that really impacted me as a boy. And there was just like layers for that for me. Like I healed it because I love dogs, but then there's layers of healing. You can heal things with your mind, but then it might be in your emotional body, your nervous system. And so as I began this practice in my 20s, I began to see dogs again in my dreams. And through this process, I began to heal it because up in my late teens, I was like, I love dogs, but a dog would bark, and I'd go, "Rah," and my nervous system would just go, "Wah, wah." And so it just added another layer of me healing that experience. Another fairly recent experience was I used to love roller skating, and I used to go to roller discos as a boy. Figure of eight, everybody do a figure of eight, playing disco music. And I used to love that. One day I was just a boy, I really needed the toilet, and it was at this leisure center. So I just went up the steps, the 3 stories of steps on my roller skates. And then I skated along the balcony at the top. The DJ stopped the music and went, "What are you doing, you idiot, idiot, idiot?" Like, obviously, it wasn't very clever. I went up steps in my roller skates, very silly idea, but that I cut through me. Like, I was just a boy. I went into the toilet and I just sat there and sobbed. And then I never went roller skating again, you know? And so it was only 6 months ago I returned to that day. You idiot, idiot, idiot. It just echoed through me. And then I just began roller skating like incredible. Twirly whirlies, and then along the balcony, I jumped down, and like everybody cheered in the dream. whoa, I'd forgotten it even happened pretty much, this experience. But it's something in me shifted. Like, there's a certain reluctance in me to be seen. And so it was just like huge. I didn't even know it was there. And so just to give some real life experiences, and there are many of where we can heal things that just get compressed inside us and impact the way in which we open to life in our present life. Yeah, it's like was it Einstein that said you can't solve a problem from the same mind that created it, or same mind where it was created, really. And so some people take this as like, well, bring someone else in, get another mind in. But it's never meaning that. It's meaning like, can we cultivate another state of consciousness and then revisit it from that place? So if you meditate and you drop into awareness rather than just at the end of your experience, or just in our ego of experience, but we can drop in, drop back, and begin to witness from that place. It's tremendous what can unravel and how we can heal. And so I really feel like it's beautiful to do shadow work where we realize what it is, bring loving awareness, and can reframe this. But ultimately, the most healing thing we can experience is to really know who we are and to continually drop into that and to tend to that sacred within and without. And then things can naturally dissipate. That which is not true will naturally fall away. Yeah. So I feel like there's another opportunity. I don't know if anyone's written any questions.
Thank you, James. Yes, Alicia asks, you mentioned that people are exploring their own, in brackets, subconscious in dreams. But do you think others, as in beings, can and do control our dreams? For example, do others send us dreams, do invade our dreams, or appear in our dreams? Or are the dreams our own creations? What a great question.
Such a great question. Okay, let's go there. Let's go there. So I've spoken about the unconscious and what happens within our own mind when we're lucid within our own mind. And then there is a spectrum of lucidity that can move us into astral travel. And so when we astral travel, other things are possible. For example, I said children are amazing at this practice. Before I came here, my nephew, it was when, 2018? And he goes, hello, Uncle James. And I was like, he goes, I made you a card, Uncle James. And he made me this card. And I was like, that's beautiful, Rory. And then he goes, and I said, what is it? And he goes, that's where you're going to live. We have just built our house, like where I am now, right there. He didn't know the Sacred Valley or we were going to the mountains. Yeah, and I was like, so how did you know that? He goes, well, it was in my dream, Uncle James. That's where you're going to live. And I was just like, what? And so that was an astral travel experience, you know. So you know, when I began practicing dream yoga through Tibetan Buddhism, I began to receive teachings by some teachers. A lovely lady called Ondi in England. She taught me when I lived in the north of India in the Himalayas. And she would just come and share teachings, Tibetan Buddhist teachings. I would receive teachings from Khyentse Rinpoche, who, this is what's interesting as well, is you can receive teachings from teachers who are alive and those who have passed. So these, I didn't know that. It was just, I understood it as dream yoga at this point. But these begin to move into more astral travel experiences. When I studied with Las Piramides Mystery School, they actually, you do meditation, yoga, esoteric study, but most of the practice was when we went to bed, and they invited you to attend an astral university called McCrath. And so this was like, what? Really? And and so, especially coming from where I come from, the engineer dad, and I was just like, what? This is like actually Hogwarts. And so this was an incredible experience for me, because as I deepened the study, you do a moon course there, 1 month long, and then you study a sun course, which is equinox to solstice, 3 months. And so there was only 5 of us, an Irish guy, two sisters from Australia, um, and American, and and we would come together as we were studying for the first 50 days, and we'd have breakfast together. And I'd say, Tony, you were teaching me tarot last night in my dream. And then he would say, look, James, I was teaching James tarot last night in my dream. And we were like, to get that validation of like, this isn't always just in my mind. And what was interesting, like Tony would say, the weird thing is I didn't even know that what I was teaching you before. and so like, what? And more of these experiences were happening. Many wisdom traditions say that dreams are the language of your soul. And so beyond the unconscious, we can tap into this golden thread, the yearnings of the soul, also some of the gifts, the wisdom, and some of the karmic history sometimes as well. And so I'll share another experience which is very meaningful to me. There have been countless experiences throughout, and I don't want to just turn this into one long story time, but I think it helps to give personal experience. My sister has struggled with alcohol over the years, my older sister. And there was a time when it was very difficult for us to communicate, and I love her dearly. It was a really intense time. I was living in England, and then for a short while she went to rehab where you can't speak to somebody on the phone. And so what happened was, as she was there, I began to meet her in my dreams, and we could have these beautiful conversations. We were sitting in this bench in a park, in this like gardeny park place. And for me, I was just like, it doesn't matter if this is real. It was very healing for me. And so it was beautiful to be able to have this dialogue. And I just kept having them. My sister came out of rehab and then called me immediately and was like, James, you kept coming to me in my dream. We were on this bench in this garden park, and I was just like, it was just so beautiful, to have that level of communication. And so, yeah, it is interesting. It's there are possible dreams where you're actually meeting the person, and part of the process, which I teach people, and it's why it helps to teach this over 3 months, because I can speak to your direct experience. There's a level of discernment, where you begin to understand the quality within the dream of whether it is an archetypal expression from your unconscious, or whether it's like, wow, this is a master teacher. This is this person's spirit. And yeah, I was speaking yesterday in a talk about receiving guidance in dreams, and I think one of the important things to share around this is like, how available are we for the teaching? They say when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Sometimes the teacher's always been there, waiting for the student to realize, oh wow, there's a teaching here. And this doesn't have to just be in our dreams. This can be in the market. It can be anywhere in our lives. Like, how available are we for the teaching. You know, this is my beloved teacher Chatty from the mystery school, and she comes to me in my dreams, and she's incredibly devoted, beautiful soul. But whenever she comes to me in my dreams, it's like she comes to pull my socks up. She's often like, James, are you in alignment? Like, where are you coming from? Why are you doing this? And so I'm so grateful for her as a teacher and a guide. One story she shared was um, she was in a very deep astral travel experience where everybody was going to see Krishna, and they were all walking up this mountain to see Krishna, and so they were all going, all these devotees. And as she was going up, there's this guy just sweeping the floor, and there's people just barging past this guy. Get out of the way! Get out of the way! Get out of the way! And then she came for him, and then she looked in his eyes, and then whoa! It was Krishna. The guy is sweeping. And so I really appreciate that, we can be so spiritual, we can go into our temples and all of these things, but when it comes to buying avocados in the market, or like, what then? Like, are our hearts open and available to the beauty before us in these moments as well? Um, Yeah, so I spoke a little bit. I feel like Celicia was very much interested in the astral travel experiences. Um, so there are astral places you can study where you can heal. So one of them, a very well known across different lineages, is just called the University of Life. And this is what's interesting again, is there is this process often within our dreams, particularly if we are meeting um, like a very highly awakened teacher or someone like that, or something from the angelic realm. Sometimes it can be a bit too much for us to digest. Like, imagine a very beautiful, brilliant, incredibly bright geometric vibration and frequency. Sometimes we need to like make that more palatable for our own consciousness. So a being could appear as a character from our past. Uh, I'm pretty sure my cat is an awakened master as well. But there is this palatability, and so sometimes the University of Life can appear like a familiar place. For me, for years, and it's still every now and then, I return to a festival, and I'm in this festival environment. And if whilst I'm here, that's where I learn or I meet different characters that have something to share, something very meaningful for me. And so sometimes, that's the palatability for me, is it becomes a festival. Um, yeah. So, I mean, there's so much to share about that. That's why I sort of teach over 3 months, and I build up slowly to to astral universities, to meeting teachers. I have a question for you all. Has anybody had a prophetic dream, a dream of the future that came to be? If anyone would
Unmute
like.
my audio. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you so much for all of this. I do a lot of dream work. I dream journal and collect dream books. This one is from the 60s, I think, How to Make Your Dreams Work for You, and addresses a lot of the things that we spoke about. And I find the more that I engage with my dream journal and uh, looking back on old dream journals, a lot of it comes to pass. I find that the engaging with it through writing it down uh, helps me to kind of highlight certain aspects. And because some of it is just like junk mail. And sometimes things come through that are really prophetic or will just come to pass like a deja vu. Uh, so I think it's of great value. It's a gift that we've been given in our blueprint to begin to work with dreams. And if we can remember them, if we're vivid dreamers, that it's a really essential tool to engage with.
Beautiful. Thank you. You put it so well. And amazing you mentioned deja vu. Often deja vu is a dream or astral travel experience that we forgot. You know, in spiritual communities, people are sometimes like, wow, I really recognize you. Like, was that a past life? But sometimes it's a dream where you've connected. Sometimes you've attended the same astral school in a dream. Um, what's beautiful about the practice is even if you don't remember your dreams, I mean, that's where we start. That's where I start, is we become dream catchers. And and so that's part of the bridging the feminine with the masculine in a way where then there's freedom of information going both ways.
I just want to say one more thing. I also really appreciated this idea of how working with trauma through the dream, because there's also people that I've had discord in relationship with that I'll see often in my dreams, and I'm hanging out with them, and I really feel that that is real. And it's mostly positive. It's not like it is in reality, though that does come up sometimes, the arguments or things like that. But usually, when I haven't seen someone for a long time or spoken with someone, and then I'll see, I had a dream of a friend last night that I haven't seen in years. And every time I hang out with him, it's in the same area. It's in the same Chinatown in Montreal, in a restaurant. And I dreamt of him last night as well. And this idea of working with people, that it calms the part of our brain that it goes into fight or flight, that we can go into that safe space and commune with them. And that's definitely something I want to keep working with too.
Beautiful. It is such a high potential for resolution. Um, and that actually somebody that attended one of my courses last year, she had a really tumultuous, difficult relationship with her father, and her father passed away. And another possibility within dreams is connecting with people that have passed, the dearly departed. And it was just so beautiful what she experienced, you know. And she just said, you know, although this person has passed, it's like I still have a relationship with them. And in a way, it's really, really improved. Um, so,
James, perhaps I could read from the chat.
yes.
Um, so Corey shared a thought that came to him. He says, James, as you're talking about moving through the dream world and the astral realms, I couldn't help but think of the Klein bottle. And then he shows a picture of it, which if you can't see the chat, I could share screen and show you. If you can see the chat, you'll see what he's referring to. Do you see it?
Oh, oh yeah, beautiful.
Mhm.
Wow.
And that's Corey's thoughts, if you have any for him on that.
That's really, I mean, it looks, the whole process of dreaming is alchemical. And so that bottle there looks very like a very alchemical symbol. Um, yeah, it's I really love that that's how you received it. And it was interesting, Susan, that at the beginning you couldn't put your camera on and it was just wanting to show that symbol longer. And
Indeed.
so much of the language of dreams is in symbols. Um, you know, the teachings are not for our conscious mind to understand. They're deeper, they're like transmissions and an energetic alignment. So for instance, one of my teachers, every now and then, is this white horse. And sometimes it comes in through like a chaotic dream. So majestic. This comes in. And as soon as I see the horse, it's like such peace, and I'm very humble, and it just like brings me into a different space. And so it's not there to say, James, here's a good idea. It's just like going, feel this, come from this place, James. Um,
It's all very interesting, James. And if you don't mind, I'd love to come on here and just say hi to everybody because it's great to see everybody. And what an interesting presentation you put forward there. Listening to you talk about astral projection and for me, I just can't help to think about in an Anishinaabe tradition, especially for the Amaqua or for other groups, dreaming isn't just some nighttime entertainment. It's actually a path to real world knowledge and direction. And in our teachings, dreams are a doorway, kind of a passage between worlds. And sometimes the spirits or the spirit ancestors or even animals show up and pass along teachings or warnings. And it's rarely in a straight line. And honestly, if you mapped it out, a good vision, it would probably look more like a Klein bottle than a straight path. And it's full of loops, it's crossings and places where inside and outside don't really mean much anymore. And these dreams are journeys and can guide a person's life, showing where the fish are running, helping heal from a loss, or even pointing out what's wrong in the community. Just like your experience, James. These visions aren't just personal; they ripple out and affect everyone. So maybe the Klein bottle is a perfect visual, and it's a reminder. So it's the surface with no real inside or outside. It's just one continuous path. So in Western mathematics, it totally scrambles your brain. But from a traditional point of view, especially, for the Amaqua groups, that almost how dreams work, there's no clear border between here and there. You can step into a dream and be the ancestors or the land or somewhere totally new, and it's all one reality, just folded together in ways you can't always map out.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Corey. Like a really beautiful share. And thank you for really bringing in, because it's not just for our own inner alchemy. It really is. If you look at the great dreamers around the world, the tribes, or in Australia, the Aboriginal culture, their cosmovision is called the dreaming, and really speaks to everything you've just shared about this ever unfolding reality. The Iroquois tribe of North America, they say dreaming is the single most important thing that we do as a human for spiritual and practical purposes. So it's true what you said. In times of like famine, it would be the good dreamers would say, this is where we can forage, where we can hunt, and it would literally save the tribe. Even in modern times, the blueprint for Google, the sewing machine changed humanity massively. They all came through dreams. And so it's not just this inner alchemy, it's this very practical way we can find solutions. Right now, we really need to ask ourselves what makes us human. In a time where artificial intelligence is getting a lot better than a lot of humans at a lot of things, So what is it that makes us human? I mean, that's a great question to ask ourselves, like our hearts, our dreams, and so this is a question for you to continue to ask yourself and to cultivate.
It's wild, really. This whole Klein bottle idea, it's of an inside outside looping into each other. It's just like some math trick, and it in our old traditions across the Great Lakes, dreaming and vision, seeking where common ground for all and all nations, whether you're talking about Anishinaabe or Iroquois or Amaqua, everyone understood that you could step out of ordinary reality and travel into another world, and sometimes meet a helper, sometimes to find your name or to heal other people. And so, whether you call it a vision quest or a fast or you're going into the longhouse with the dreamers, these were all ways of navigating that Klein bottle space. You set an intention, you travel inward, and you come back changed. And that loop between here and there, self and other, even life and death, it's all much closer together in the dreaming. And it makes you wonder, if our old teachers, we're doing this type of geometry, before it was cool, I guess, and that's I really appreciate the convo here. I'm just at my place here and about to head out for the day, but thanks for the presentation, and thank you everybody. It's good to see Michael and Sue and everybody. Take
Thank you,
care, guys.
Corey. Thank you very much, Corey. We do have Michelle has a question for us. Go ahead, Michelle.
I was wondering about your insight on waking visions, like when you're dreaming while you're awake or in maybe in a meditative state.
Great question. I think it speaks to a little bit of what Corey said about there is an understanding in various cultures around the world where dreams and waking reality are less separate. And so daydreaming is such a beautiful gift of being human as well, isn't it? And I feel like that's available to so many of us, more so when we are children, which is another clue. What is it that the children are getting right? Well, so many things. We have so much to learn from children, and there is a certain degree of, as we become adults, rigidity. So we get conditioned to just like pretend that we know what's going on. And I feel like if we want to get closer to the great mystery, then perhaps it's better to have more questions than answers, to have wonder, to have curiosity, just like children. And I don't know if I'm speaking at all directly to your question, but one of the things when you become more adept at this practice is you can begin to daydream to seed your dreams, and vice versa. So one practice you could do, say if it was a challenging dream, you can go into meditation and with your imagination go back into the dream and find a deeper resolution there. I feel like daydream is incredibly healthy for us as humans, and there's a lot of potential for healing there, as well as amazing practical solutions for our life. Does anybody know what Thomas Edison invented? Little quiz question. Yeah.
Like,
Yes, well done, Michael. And so one of the things that Thomas Edison did, also Tesla, Einstein also were working with what's called hypnagogia, the hypnagogic state of consciousness. That's in between waking and sleep. I don't know if you've ever fallen asleep, you're on a train or something. That sort of zone is hypnagogia. And so my teacher, Gangri Karma Rinpoche, when he first was teaching me, it was just like, it's not just about being aware in your dreams, it's about having awareness through all the stages of sleep. I was like, what? Wow, that's incredible. But one of the more easier ones to rest in awareness is that in between state. And so this is why, as you approach into sleep, it's not just about, you don't sprint, run to a yoga class and say, right, I'm ready. It's good to slowly approach dreaming. It's the same as, making love or things. It's just like how we approach and being slower. We enter in with that state of consciousness. When I like to say rising asleep rather than falling asleep, it's wonderful to ride hypnagogia. Thomas Edison would study. Then he would go into and sit on his big comfortable chair, and he put these metal marbles, these ball bearings in his hand, and put his hand above a plate. And so he studied, and then was holding these ball bearings, knowing that he was going to fall asleep. And he would go, whoop, and drop the ball bearings, clang. And that is where the light bulb moment, that everyone goes, light bulb moment, it came from hypnagogia. And so in hypnagogia, it's got that word hypno. So like with hypnotherapy, hypnagogia is a very fertile state of consciousness to sow seeds within your mind. So if you have a mantra that you work with, going to bed with a mantra can be very powerful. There's an affirmation like I love myself, or it can be very powerful to work with that state of consciousness. So thank you for your question, Michelle. I'm not sure if I directly spoke to it, but
The answer to your question, what makes us human, is one word: love. And this whole presentation today, which is beautiful, this gorgeous, is a confirmation that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And it's within the soul within you, the divine within you, that the possibilities expand beyond. They just expand beyond. Figures like Babaji, who embodied the divine within, is infinite, and that's our heritage. That's what we are striving for, which is God consciousness, because everything is consciousness, everything, and that consciousness is expressing itself through each of us and screaming and yelling for the divine interconnection. And when we seek, and that's the approach you're talking about, when we seek, which is to learn approach, to learn how to act as a soul rather than as a physical being. So I applaud you, because it's a beautiful presentation, just beautiful.
Thank you, Michael. Did you want more questions, James, or did you want to carry on with other thoughts for us?
Well, I was just letting that sink in. What Michael just shared is just so beautiful, so moving. And yeah, how do we recognize ourselves as a soul? And when we speak to another being, see them as a soul. And it's a very, very, very long journey we've all been on. And so it's profound when we truly honor that in one another. And people talk about making the most of your life, but maybe we should say make the most of our soul. And
yeah, I can, just to add a little bit to it, these thoughts don't come from the ethers so much. I'm following Yogananda and the Self-Realization Fellowship, and I was ill for about 6-7 months, really, really bad, and I couldn't keep up with the teachings. And then, as I started to get better, I dove into what I hadn't been able to keep up with, and this is essentially the teaching. The teaching is yoga, which means union with the soul. That's what yoga means, union with the soul. And if everyone in life put that at the forefront of their mind every day, their lives would change. They would completely change, because they then wouldn't be focused and fixated on the material, physical world and all the things that come at them. Then they have no answer for. They have no answer for it because they're not a seeker. They're not seeking union with the soul. And that's a deep equation, a deep prescription for everyone. Everyone is faced with this challenge, and it could take lifetimes. It could take lifetimes to get to the point of going, oh, I got to work on myself. Oh, okay. Suddenly, spirituality takes on a different meaning. as soon as you agree that you need to practice yoga. And practice is the most vital thing, because without it, there's no discipline. And without discipline, there's no taking in. There's no taking in. There's just a neutrality, and that's no good. You have to wanna. You have to wanna. Anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love the Tibetan Buddhist approach to that. Is like one of the keys that they share is joyful effort. So it's not homework. It's like I get to do this. This is the most mystical, most worthwhile thing that I could put my heart and soul into. And thank you for sharing, Michael. I feel like, it's also this whole, I feel like the path is about getting really real. And I feel like if we experience sickness and we really face that, things get really, really real and really, really precious. And, part of this practice, particularly from a Tibetan Buddhist perspective, is actually a preparation for death, lucid dreaming. And how do we face that even? What happens when this body dies? And these explorations where it's not a belief, but a direct experience, so that we can trust that there is part of us that maybe continues beyond this physical body. Early on in my experience of, I once left my body, and I left my body. I was practicing to lucid dream, but I left my body and then was like, whoa, looked down at myself, and then just held my own face from outside my body, and I just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, because up until that point I believed in reincarnation, but that experience was like, I know something moves beyond this body, and also it allowed me to see myself from the outside and go, God, James, like what you've been through, like it allowed me to love myself in a very real way. Um, People also talk in spiritual circles about manifestation, and I thought it was funny what Corey said, is like, before it was cool. Like, I feel like I'm in good company. Various people here have had a spiritual practice before it was on Instagram and was cool. It's so interesting. It's beautiful. It's become popular in the world. But in that, there's like memes and like, manifest your dream reality. and and but there is a beauty in manifestation. But it's like this: if we are listening to our soul, if we listen to our dreams and the yearnings that are expressing themselves in our dreams, you're not trying to make something happen like, I want a really cool car or this thing. It's like you're listening to what wants to happen through you. And so then if you're manifesting, you're just like catching the wave. You're supported. There's something that makes this want to happen through you.
You're hitting the nail right on the head. Because like for instance, your observation about the illness, and I can share with people that I was very ill. I mean, Susan will attest to that. She had to look after me. But the perspective that we both gained from the experience, because we were together 24/7, and she was looking after my every need. What we both came away from is this was a spiritual experience, and it was meant to tap one on the shoulder and say, maybe your focus needs to shift. The both of us, that our focus needed to shift into developing something more along the lines of spiritual seeking, and we've recognized it as such. So the idea again is soul seeking. It's all about making that union with your soul, and And when people are open to the idea, they can shift their consciousness, and they can go on a healing path themselves
Mhm.
just by virtue of the thought of yoga. Saying, oh, I'm gonna think of yoga differently now. Yoga is not the dog position or whatever. Yoga is union with the soul. And the Hindu teachings left a great impression on us, on the idea that we're not the doer. You're not the doer. So all plotting and scheming and control issues because you want things to be a certain way and all that stuff is so much wasted energy, because you're thinking you're the doer. You're actually thinking you're in control. You're actually thinking that you're running the show, and you're not. You're an emanation of the source experiencing life. The Hindu call it his Leela, his play, his cosmic play. So you're just in the cosmic drama. And as you're in that drama, you've been bequeathed and given the flame of the Christ consciousness. You just have to make it bigger.
Just.
I'd just love to jump in here if that's all right, just to catch on this trail uh, about this idea of manifesting and wishes and desires, and then Dad's illness. Michael is my father, and I had gone to Peru during his illness to do ceremony to pray for him and to reckon with the idea of him being ill. And what came through really big is that pain and illness are delivered to us like a golden letter that we wish, like you said, James, for a car or a house or, to manifest our dreams. We wouldn't wish for an illness. We wouldn't wish for pain. But if we can understand what pain is, that it is a blessing, that it's coming to bring us, if we read the letter it delivers, we can release it. But most of us don't read the letter. We just want to get rid of it, and we end up just storing away the letters. And so then it manifests as worse and worse illness, debilitating blockages, or worse, suicide or death from an illness, a sudden illness, or something like that. And Dad, what you shared, just what it brought for you and Susan is what, if we can begin to relate to pain and illness in a way that we would relate to a beautiful dream or a desire, then it changes everything.
Yeah, how do we see the gift that's there? And I really feel that's true. I know it's true for all of the pain that I've resisted in my life, how much it's made it worse for me. It's like if there was a knife, it only begins to hurt when it finds resistance, and so and just like Susan said, just these things are not straightforward. They're not easy. They're to be lived through, and it's very, very real.
James, I have a question, and I'm pretty sure you've heard this before. So there's the people who are dreaming, talking about their dreams all the time, like pretty much everybody in my family, and they're like intense, like they're running here, they're Michael's running across some thin ledge, or somebody's chasing, and I hear it from the kids, and it's quite wild for me to think about because that's not me at all. I'm very quiet, peaceful. I'm a daydreamer. People are talking to me in the middle of the day and I'm not with them. Um, and so you've got the people who are having these, they're obviously not lucid dreaming by their description. They're sort of all over the map. And then there's people like me, very quiet, rarely have a dream, wake up with a knowing as though I've had a dream because I've come up with an awareness, but not a dream that matches it. So is there really a difference between us? We're not um, lucid in that space. So we work with you, someone like you, or read books like Sarah shows us, and so on to become lucid. Well, from the baseline point, I'm thinking that we're just not conscious in it. We're not lucid in it, but there's really maybe no difference between us. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's a beautiful question. And yeah, it's just a wonder that we live in a world of so much diversity of experience. And yeah, I'm sure many of us would say, wow, oh, to have such a quiet mind. What a blessing that is. And for me, um, dreaming is an amazing opportunity for us. And particularly when we become lucid, but it's not a necessity to evolve along the spiritual path. Um, it's an incredible potential and tool if that's something that feels alive in us, if it excites us, and that's something we wish to pursue. Um, but ultimately, I think the the greatest aspiration all of us can have is peace. And so it sounds like you're doing an incredible job of cultivating that. And I was so inspired, Susan, when we spoke before, and you said that you don't watch any television or listen to any other distracting thing at all in your life. And I think that's such a beautiful choice to make. Um, there are many, many distractions in the world, and um, I feel like we just simply need to tend to that which reminds us of our true nature and cultivates peace and love in our life. It's an honor to support people to cultivate lucidity. It sounds like you are dreaming, it's just not bridging all the time into your conscious mind. If you wake up with a knowing, and scientifically they say that we are all dreaming. So sometimes it's just a lot of this process is just like, if it's something that interests you and it's something you want to pursue, then get very interested in it. Like Sarah, read those books. Better though is have these conversations, and because it becomes really alive. And there are amazing films as well. A really good book, old film, which I recommend to people, is called Waking Life. If you do watch films, it's old film, and it's like it almost looks animated, but also real life. And one of the things it shows you is that thing I spoke of earlier, like that there's always a teacher in front of you, and it reminds us how to listen and be available to that. I feel like that film's coded because I fell asleep about 10 times trying to watch it. It's like seeding you to lucid dream.
Yeah, well, that's the funny thing is I might not talk about dreams, but I'm a really good sleeper. So anybody knows that I could be even in the middle of practically talking to somebody and go to sleep. Like I'm really good at sleeping. Of course, I have a history of being a nurse, so you have to be able to sleep when you can, but as a shift worker. One other question, James, is about medicine. I understand there's some medicines that interfere with people's dreams. Um, do you have any insight on that?
Um, Well, I know a lot of various supplements and medicines that support dreams. I have spoken to some people where they felt their medication impacted their dreams. Um, but it sounds like you might be a bit more of an expert on that if it's something you've heard.
A
For
friend
me,
said it. A friend
uh,
said it. Somebody actually who said that something about cannabis, I think,
um,
affecting her dreams. And I just thought that there may be some, yeah, some substances that impact our ability to lucid dream.
yeah, so, well, to support dreams, anything that supports your cognitive function is really helpful. So that includes B vitamins, B6, particularly B6, B12, for me, lion's mane is an incredible supplement, and it works on multiple levels. Also helps with anxieties and things like that. Um, a very powerful herb, and don't ever take any medication or herb without doing research or seeing a professional, but is mugwort. Um, Mugwort is incredibly powerful for vivid dreams. However, if you were trying to get pregnant, never take it. So there's an example why you need to do your research. Um, uh, in terms of cannabis, yeah, for a lot of people, if they just started to take cannabis, initially their dreams really go amazing, like very strong and vivid. But if it's prolonged use, it tends to subdue dreams in a big way. And whilst, I spoke about the masculine and the feminine within, I feel like cannabis is very supportive for cultivating a sense of receptivity in nature, things like this. But then to have the like backbone to be lucid within that becomes very, very difficult. But with any plant, particularly with plants, it really does depend on your relationship with them. And so there are people that take medical cannabis, for example, that have studied with me and been incredible lucid dreamers. And so, there is when we're working with a plant, and so I always teach people without any supplements first, and then sometimes we'll introduce it. But whenever you're working with a plant, you're working with a plant spirit. So it will take you in a particular direction.
Perfect. Thank you. I know we're going pretty long this morning, so I would like to see if there's any other questions for James or anything, James, that you would like to say that you haven't had a chance to.
Yeah, I'm open to any questions. I just want to say, if anybody wants to take it deeper, we barely spoke about how to do this, but I have actually written this 33-page guide, and so I can send that to you for free if you just get in touch with me. I don't know if my contact details will be left.
Yes, let's put them in the chat, James. I have them actually, so why don't I just put them in there, and while we see if there's any other questions. But I'll put your contact information, and then people could work with you online if they think that would be a good fit, or they can reach out to you for the guide, which would be really looks wonderful. Would love to have that. All right, let me just put this in the chat for you so people can reach out to you, James.
And yeah, for anyone interested to take it even deeper, the next 3-month online container I hold is from late September. And so there's often about 12 of us, and we meet once a week. And every third week we have a healing session to support lucidity. So if you wanted, perhaps for the closing few minutes, I could even share a little bit of healing for everybody.
Well, that sounds lovely. Who would say no to that? Thank you, James. I did put up your website, your Instagram, your email, and Insight Timer free meditations. Thank you.
So much.
So let's just, we're at 20 to the hour. So for those who have to head on their way, we of course understand that and invite you to do that. For those of us who are still here, and for those of us who will be listening to the recording on YouTube, thanks for being here with us. And we'll just turn it back to you, James. That would be a lovely way to finish up today.
Yeah, I just want to thank you all for your curiosity, for sharing your wisdom and your hearts and your presence. And so, yeah, I really hope that this has been an inspiration for you to just tend to your dreams and that which is sacred. So, yeah, I'll just do a very gentle healing. If you just bring your awareness to your heart, And with your breath, just feel as if you're inhaling through the back of your heart and exhaling through the front of your heart. And just keep inhaling, receiving through the back of your heart, exhaling, allowing this to just wash through the front of your heart. Now just imagine a rosebud at the very center of your heart, opening and blossoming, infinitely blossoming. As you're meditating, just ask yourself the question, am I dreaming? Am I dreaming? Just gently coming back and just allowing your heart to smile. And as you do that, let your lips and your face smile too. Thank you so much for inviting me, Susan and Michael. So, yeah, you obviously both embody so much wisdom and kindness and love, and it's amazing that you open your doors and invite other people to share as well. That you have that curiosity and that you're weaving people together like this. So thank you.
James, thank you so much. What a delight to hear from you today. I do want to share for our listeners or people who can't see the chat that they can reach James through awakenacademy.org. And through that, you'll see his Lucid Dream online course. You can find him on Instagram at James_flourish. His email address is james@awakenacademy.org. And you can also find Insight Timer free meditations that he recommends. So thank you so much, James. Thank you for everybody for being here, being part of the conversation. We know that in our online world, there's many options for you this morning, and you chose to be with us. And we are so very grateful for that. I do welcome you to email us anytime. Through the website might be easiest. And we welcome your thoughts, your feedback, topics, anything at all. We'd love to hear from you. We are seeking to grow community and talk about whatever inspires us. And I love what you're telling us, James. This is something to get excited about. And as like anything else in life, where we put our energy, things will flow. And so there's a big opportunity here for all of us to learn from you today, James, and to know that we have your support to do this, to awaken this part of ourselves. So thank you very, very much. Perhaps you can come back in the future and speak to us again. You're just a lovely, gentle soul, and we so appreciate your wisdom today. So thank you, everybody. We will stay in touch, of course, and hope to see you next time.
Mantram.
And oh, yes, we do sign off with the mantra. Will I say the mantra, Michael, or would you like to?
No, I think I can do it this time.
Okay, let's do the mantra of unification. Go ahead, please, Michael. Thank you for the reminder.
Thank you. Thank you. Mantram of unification. The sons and daughters of men and women are one, and I am one with them. I seek to love, not hate. I seek to serve, not exact due service. I seek to heal, not hurt. Let pain bring due reward of light and love. Let the soul control the outer form and life and all events, and bring to light the love which underlies the happenings of the time. Let vision come and insight. Let the future stand revealed. Let inner union demonstrate and outer cleavages be gone. Let love prevail. Let all humanity love. Miigwech.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everybody.
Ciao, everybody.